Today we're talking about the hurricane-resistant yard that every Florida homeowner needs. We all know what this time of year brings. It brings storms. With those, there's high winds, lots of rain, and always some amount of damage. And there is some preparation you can do to prevent some of that damage. Although we know if the winds are high enough, it is going to damage a lot of the plants, or at least wound them for some time being, where they need to be straightened or they need to heal some to where they get back to their beautiful look they once had. I've seen tons of palms get completely stripped where everyone thought that they were going to die. And just here at our office, there's a bunch of royals where the heart was broken in them and everyone said that those were going to die. A lot of those came back. I was blown away to see them come back and do so well. Now that I've seen that, I'll know for next time that that's something that if you want to deal with it not looking good for some amount of time and you've got the patience, a lot of this stuff will heal. A lot of this stuff will repair itself. It's designed to be in a climate where it's going to get beat up by high winds. But we're going to get into some of the protection and prevention, because ultimately here you're going to have damage. You need to know what you can do to minimize that and plant accordingly, so you've got a lawn that can withstand some of these winds and withstand some of these problems, and or be easier to clean up. Or at least when you design it, if you design it to be just full of plants and all kinds of things, know what that can look like on the storm end of things, on how much cleanup that could cause. So with this being a seasonal threat, we know every year this is going to happen. We're going to have the winds, we're going to have the rains, and most landscapes are not set to withstand this. You're going to see a lot of plants leaning, a lot of plants needing some amount of repair or staking or trimming or cleanup, or maybe just flat out removal after a storm. So many palms are super resistant to it, but if you have high enough winds, I look back to Ian, and there's really, unfortunately in that situation, without just really trimming and trying to prep stuff, there's not much you can do. At that point, we're doing everything we can do to then brace and prepare for that storm and see what damage is caused and see what kind of cleanup we have. Now, the resilient design a lot of times comes from maintenance, right? First and foremost, native plants that are designed to handle the wind better, those are going to be more ideal. So you want to look at stuff that, one, is going to be more robust in high winds. Now, if it isn't robust in high winds and you know something is coming, there is the opportunity to selectively prune, kind of a hurricane prep, to allow more wind to go through. When you look at like a black iron fence, for example, wind does not hurt that fence because wind goes right through it. But the PVC fences, the wood fences that are solid, they have such a high wind load because they're solid that you get a lot of damage. So those fences, if you remove some of the slats of your PVC fence, it's going to take a lot more wind because it lets all that wind just go through it. Same with plants. If you selectively prune, kind of open them up some so wind can get through them, you will see a lot less damage on your plants and it'll make them more resilient. Yes, this is something that you need to do with how stuff grows so quick in the summer here. You've got to do this closer to the event to really make this a viable maintenance approach. Now, one of the things that I love about some of the hand pruning, if this is done in the year versus just sheared walls of shrubs, is they look more natural. They look less pressed into this certain design. Now, this is outside of your standard maintenance package. This is kind of a specialty package, but it is something that makes it look well sculptured, super natural, and very, very cleanly trimmed, also while letting some air get into that plant as well over the course of the year. And depending on the look you desire, this can be a really nice aesthetic that also makes these plants and kind of sets everything up to be more robust. You for sure, on top of that, are going to want to trim any dead, any almost falling, leaning trees. You're going to want to take care of that stuff ahead of time, because no matter what, if it's already failing, that could be the last nail in the coffin. And if it's something that's about to fall, it could become a projectile and it could damage good stuff, good house, good fence, good things that you don't want to damage. And so that's why dead limbs, dead trees, all of that stuff, you want to make sure that's managed before a hurricane comes your way. Now, all of these stormproofing and plants that are a little more robust to the wind, this is an investment in your investment, right? This is future proofing. This is protection. This is maintenance that's going to make sure your landscape takes the least amount of damage in a storm. And hopefully we don't have any catastrophic hurricanes. But on these more just moderate to low hurricanes that can still cause damage, if you follow a lot of these protocols, you pick these plants that are more wind resistant, you trim them so they're less likely to get damage from wind, hurricane trimming and preparation, it can make sure you keep a lot more of your landscaping. You're not replacing year after year after year. And so that plan goes together of why planning a landscape to be more open, to let more air flow through it. I see so often people just slam houses full of hedgerows. Now, that's fine if you want that and you like that aesthetic, but you're creating walls. Walls catch air. Walls get damaged. If you have a landscape that is more open and allows more air to flow through it naturally, you're going to see less damage. You're going to still get plants that are wind beat and tattered, but they're going to come back. And I'm not guaranteeing all of them are going to come back, but you're going to see less wind damage than if you have walls created out of shrubs that are catching all of this wind and seeing all of this damage. So these are the things you can do to protect your landscape and make sure you have a robust landscape that can handle those hurricane winds, and make sure you replace the least amount and you have the least downtime on that investment that is your landscape, which brings up the value of your home. And the value of your home and the value of your assets, I know, are super important to you, and that's why we want to protect your main investments.